fossils is it's a cyanobacteria which has been fossilized in the several layer of the sediments. So it called as stromatolite fossils. So that has the evidence, and it found in the Greenland, and it suggests that it had came more than 3.7 billion years ago. But the recent evidence has been emerged. One of the deepest hydrothermal vent, which located in the oceans, and from there, the fossilized microorganism collected, and the carbon dating and their geological history suggested that life was there around 4.28 billion years ago. But it is obviously not long after the oceans formed, which is formed about 4.4 billion years ago. So oceans basically, so it still now it is proved that the life has been formed from the oceans. So now we talk about the biodiversity. Nowadays, everybody cares about the biodiversity. So what is basically the biodiversity means? It is a very simple word, but we need to think about their meaning. Like bio in the sense which has a life, and diversity, the amount of different entity. So the life which having the different amount of different entity, that called a biodiversity. According to the UN Convention, biodiversity, which suggests the definition of biodiversity, the variability among living organisms from all sources, including inter alia, terrestrial, marine, and other aquatic ecosystems, and the ecological complexes of which they are part. This includes diversity within species, between species, and ecosystem. So it's a little bit bigger definition anyway, but the very simple way we should understand the biodiversity, basically it's an attribute of an area which refers basically the variety within and between the living organisms. So suppose in a area like Panchgani area or in a Satara area, suppose if you can say the Panchgani one area, and there the diversity in that area, suppose you take the plant biodiversity, so a lot of different species are there. So that the different species called a different diversity of the plants. So in the Panchgani area, so it's a defined area. So how many species in that particular area present, that is called a biodiversity, and how they interact with their abiotic environment. So these also including holistic way, it calls a biodiversity, and it can be measured in terms of genetic diversity and the number of different type of species, and the amount in the sense they are in terms of density per unit area, then biomass, then how it covers, then the rate, etc. So, and it can be observed and measured at any spatial scale, ranging from very small microsites to habitat patches to the entire biosphere. So these are the basically what is biodiversity means. But we should know why we care about the biodiversity these days, because it has a lot of role to the human well-being or to the society. So when we talk about the importance, basically importance relies to us, basically the human being. So we are the intelligent communities among all the organisms or in this planet. So we are very clever that everything we considered as a benefited to be us. So that's why the keeping biodiverse ecosystem basically intact help us stay healthy. So why we need to care the biodiversity? Because if you care the biodiversity, then we'll also be the healthy, and it, obviously our ecosystem, everything will be healthy. So what they give us, the biological resources. The biodiversity gives us the food, then medicinal resources and pharmaceutical drugs, wood products, ornamental plants, then breeding stocks, population reservoirs, then future resources, diversity in gene, species, ecosystem. So there are different varieties of importance the biodiversity basically has. And then they plays a very important role in ecosystem services, like protection of water resources, So I'm talking in this biodiversity in generally. See, it's not related to the ocean, but in generally. So to understand the importance of biodiversity, the social formation and protection, then nutrient storage and the recycling process by these our trees, then pollution breakdown and absorption, then contribution to the climate stability, and maintenance of ecosystem recovery from unpredictable events. So, like suppose if you think about this recently, Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal, we have seen very strong tropical, like severe tropical cyclones came, and it destroyed many resources and many properties and lot of lives also. And so if you see the east coast and west coast is affected very badly, Maharashtra coast, Goa, then Gujarat, and that side Orissa, West Bengal. So those are very highly affected and impacted by these cyclones. But if you see few parts where the mangroves jungle were there, like Sundarban, if you consider, and mangroves has the good potential to protect their to cover the some villages through this severe cyclone, and which can break their speed and break down their speed, break down their directions. So this kind of uh, contribution has been done by the mangroves during these storms and other issues related to the climate change. So it has a very good ecosystem services. And then social benefit also, we get research, education and monitoring purposes, then recreation and tourism, and then cultural values we get from the biodiversity. So now I come to the oceans. So oceans are like, if you know the oceans, the major, we have five major oceans in this planet, Earth. The one is our Indian Ocean, then Atlantic Ocean, you can see here, then Pacific, then Southern Ocean. Here is Antarctica, and this is the Southern Ocean, this area, and the North Pole. We have the Arctic Oceans. So major five major oceans we have covered, and they have a lot of in these oceans. Like we have Arabian Sea in this side, like west coast of India and east coast of India. We have a Bay of Bengal. Then this side is Andaman Sea. Then there is the Red Sea. So like these lot of small seas are also located along these oceans. So basically, oceans, if you can see the blue part here in this map, mostly they covered the planet. So the oceans cover around 70% of the Earth's surface area, and the deepest part of the oceans, the Mariana Trench, it is the depth of this Mariana Trench is more than the height of Mount Everest. So it is more than 11,000 meter, and you'll be surprising to know that there is evidence to found the life in the Mariana Trench also. And also there is another surprising evidence that they have also found the plastics in the Mariana Trench. So you can understand and you can imagine how the human impacted the deepest area of the earth. So these are the way human is impacting. So anyway, so we start about the habitats and the zonation to understand the basic about the oceans. So if you see this the down picture as a the divisions of the oceans, there is a continental shelf. So we are the continents, terrestrial if we say continents, and the slopes comes. So there is a plate, continental plate, then there is a oceanic plate. So then continental plate goes or oceanic plate goes down. Then there is a continental slope. Then it range is there. Then we have the abyssal plain. Then several plate tectonics happen, and there is a joint portion in the both the plates. It calls a mid oceanic ridge. Then abyssal hills. Then we have a seamount. So there's a lot of oceanic habitats and ecosystems in the bottom we can find. And this picture basically shows how the biodiversity and the life in the oceans has been you can explore over here. It's different or several zones you can see over here. It's a basically divided based on your water column, like epipelagic, mesopelagic, bathypelagic, and it based on the several depths. So epipelagic basically it's classified from surface to the 400 meter. then 400 to 1000 is a mesopelagic, 1000 to 4000 is a bathypelagic. So like that, they have a divisions and classifications in the oceans, zonations and ocean habitats. And the different you can see the organisms and the biological communities survive in the different zonation, because oceans, when you go the deeper area or the depth, every 10-meter depth you rise the atmospheric pressure, 1 atmospheric pressure in every 10-meter depth. So if you can imagine, so 2000 or 3000 or 4000-meter depth, how much will be the atmospheric pressure? But these organisms had adapted those pressure, those conditions to survive in those lot of the pressure and that very extreme conditions like deep sea areas. So they have a lot of adaptation capabilities, and that's what the people thinks that origin of life mostly started from this deep sea, because it's a very extreme environmental conditions. And if you see, there is a mentioning about the hydrothermal vents over here, and that hydrothermal vents basically it gives a lot of gives us a lot of clue for the origins of life. The research is going on over in this topic. But now I talk about the physical factors in the oceans. So now we have seen the zonation and habitat pattern in the oceans. What are the factors basically impact or affect to survive the lives in these conditions? So in oceans, we have the factors, physical factors like temperature, then salinity, temperature. Basically, all the energy basically comes from the sun. So the temperature basically comes from the sun, and then this temperature has a lot of role to play the ocean's movement, ocean then currents. Then we have a storms, cyclones. Basically, all things happen due to this temperature up and down, the rise, the fluctuation of temperature. So if you can see this picture over here and down, the right side down, it's a animation of the temperature. It's the red area, you can see it's a tropical region, and the north and south portion is a it's a polar region. So south pole and north pole, so those are temperate, you can say. The tropical region, you see that the red marking is mostly basically the higher temperatures. So how the everyday temperature changing, it's the animation of that. So the temperature basically higher in the tropics. So that's why you can find mostly the cyclone and storms basically happening in these tropics zones. And these, due to this cyclone, there are a lot of change happen in the ocean, and those physical forces have a lot of role to impact the biodiversity, their food, their movements, everything, and as well as the density and waves and then tides and currents. So all these physical factors have a very important role to structuring the biodiversity and life. Apart from these physical forces, we have a lot of biochemical and chemical properties in the oceans, like carbon, nitrogen, then the lot of nutrients. So everything all together, it basically forms the how the life or how the biodiversity basically structure in the oceans. So now I talk about role of biodiversity in the oceans. So if we talk about very basically in a water body, any lake also, any pond, anywhere, any aquatic body, there are three things will be present mostly. One is phytoplankton, second is zooplankton, and third is a benthic community. So these are the basic food web happens all the aquatic water bodies. Similarly, oceans also having the same phytoplankton, zooplankton, and benthos. So what happens? The phytoplankton basically they fixing the carbon, nitrogen, and then after that they graze by the zooplankton, and then after that after the decomposition through the bacterial degradation, and it come to the seabed, and the seabed community like benthic organism, they consume those community and they get the organic carbon from those communities. So here the primary producers basically is a phytoplankton, and then secondary is a zooplankton. Primary consumer is a zooplankton, then secondary consumer as a benthos. The tertiary is the fish. So basically, human are related with the fisheries. We don't have to deal anything about other this plankton, but we have to deal about the fisheries because it's economically important. But no, we are also nowadays we are dealing a lot of phytoplanktons, zooplankton, and benthos because we are having a lot of medicinal effects and medicinal value from these organisms. So we need to understand all the organisms, all the community from surface to the bottom communities. So we just go back very just fast about the marine biodiversity, how it came. The marine biodiversity basically it's a I already told that it's a ancient life. It came around 4.3 billion years ago through the hydrothermal vent. But the first photosynthetic cyanobacteria basically appearing, and they basically dominated during Proterozoic oceans when it was dominated, and then molecular evidence shows that plants, animals, and fungi diverged about 1200 to 1500 million years ago. And then after that, different multicellular organism like porifera, like we call about the sponges, then Nidoria, Ctenophora, all these organisms came after the 1500 million years back. And then after that, nematode, it also diverse. So these are all different varieties of life diverse, and that evolutions happen, the divergence happen, and then the formations of the modern animals, or the you can say modern multicellular animals came. So now we should go to see the life in the oceans. We should dive. So first we just dive into the oceans, and when you get touched the water, we have experience with the phytoplankton, which basically it's contribute 65% to around 80% and 70% oxygen to the Earth's biosphere, and it is the phytoplankton. And phytoplanktons have the different communities. You can say cyanobacteria, diatom, dinoflagellates, green algae, coccolithophores. So all these having communities comes under phytoplanktons. And then the marine basically it's a single cell organisms and growing communities found in the world oceans, and they are role and their contributing as a primary producers is already told. And what health benefits we get from the phytoplankton? The research shows that the encourages optimal liver function, stabilizes blood sugar levels, and helps relieve joint pain, etc. Then stiffness. Then it can be used as a brain food because it has a very high omega-3 then omega-6 fatty acids. So phytoplankton is a very good benefit and healthy for our human health. But obviously we need to see the phytoplankton species, not the all phytoplankton. Few planktons also can be a toxic for our health. Then we come about the zooplanktons. It's also the microscopic animal, and which cannot drift, which only drift through the ocean waves or currents, and it cannot go against the tides. And the important role in a marine food web, and the considered as a primary consumer. So you can see this zooplankton over here. This is marine plankton. They can be grazed by the phytoplankton can be grazed by the zooplankton, and sometimes zooplankton grazed by the fish, some fishes or some benthic organisms, etc. Then we come to the marine benthos. Benthos basically now many this long time we are talking about benthos. Benthos basically it's a group of organism which living at the bottom, and at the bottom, like you can say the sediment or inside or above the sediments, everything called as a benthos. And they have three different life strategies. Sometimes they attached with the surface, they are free movement in the bottom, and they burrow in the sediments. Like a lot of worms we consider as a benthos, they burrow in the sediments. And then their role also is a very immense role. Secondary producers in the trophic structure, in sediment reworking, and then capabilities they are having. Then they are a very good pollution indicator in to understand any ecological health, any area or any region. And for the biomonitoring program, so they just, this slide basically shows how they do the function in the ecosystem. And they basically, if you say the what is the ecosystem functioning, functional diversity, basically its approach how to understand the mechanism of the species coexistence or community assembly and characterize the functional responses. So if you see, there are different communities present here, and they are having some different working in the sediment. So these reworking in the sediments, they have a different ecosystem function. Like some, this organism has a biodiffusing, this organism has a deep dwelling, this is a upward conveyor. So basically in this process, what they do basically the nutrient reworking from the whatever the buried nutrient inside the sediment, they basically through back to the water column. And those nutrients come, when it comes to the water column, this water column, then due to the oceanic currents and waves and other dynamics process, these nutrients goes up and intake by the phytoplankton. And when phytoplankton plankton intake these nutrients, they grows, and obviously it supports the full webs, food webs. So how these benthos are playing the role, that you can understand. So now I'll just show about some coastal biodiversity. You know the mangroves, everybody we knows the mangroves. Basically, mangroves are the tropical and subtropical countries species. They can grow because they need some kind of temperature and salinity to be maintained. And 73 species till now has been recognized as a true mangroves. And they have a very high economic values and benefits, and especially to the coastal people. The economic value, you can see the US dollar around 2,000 to 9,000 per hectare per year. Mangroves are extensive. And then forest products like timber, charcoal, firewood, and non-timber products, everything we can get from the mangroves. Then sustaining fisheries resources. If you see the mangroves in area, the fisheries are very rich in that area. Then it gives a coastal protection. I already told how they protect the coast area from various kind of waves, tides, or sometimes we have it is proved that during the tsunami also it protect the area from the tsunami, and that their waves energy, their tidal energy, and from the storms also. Then providing recreation and environmental education sites, and reducing carbon emission. That is a very good impact due to the climate change. Mangroves has a very critical role to play the carbon sequestration and storage these things. And but it is a very disappointed that 20% declining in the last 25 years due to basically the coastal development conversion of these mangroves, but which is 3 to 4 times faster than terrestrial forest types. So it is a very serious concerns. Now we can see some other coastal biodiversity in the like muddy intertidal. If you go some intertidal region is like a, when the ocean tides come. So 2 times like high tides and 2 times low tides come in a day. So when it is a low tide, the area is exposed, that area called as a intertidal region. So some areas like mangrove areas and other areas, if you go to the mangrove areas, you will have the muddy intertidal region. And muddy intertidal has a lot of rich biodiversity in the area. And these pictures basically has been taken near around the Mumbai coast. So so these are the livelihood, how the bivalves collecting for the selling, and other lot of fishes also collected by the local people from this intertidal mangrove area during the high tide time. So these mud crabs are very good economic value the people get from this mud crab. So that's what they usually go to harvesting these crabs, these clams. So these are the biodiversity and how it is related to the livelihood. And then we have the rocky shore habitats also. Like rocky shore is a very important habitat in the coastal region, uh, and we have this kind of rich biodiversity in the rocky shore. And these photos basically I'm showing you, it's our Mumbai coast. Mumbai is a very highly urbanized and very highly populated area, and we have evidence of lot of population and the pollutions area in the Mumbai coast, but till we are having the biodiversity, very rich biodiversity in the Mumbai coast region. So these are a lot of varieties of crabs, a lot of varieties of shells, a lot of varieties of cnidarians you can see in the Mumbai coast, and there are also a lot of other varieties of sponges, a lot of amphibians, and then a lot of polychaetes, a lot of shrimps. So the varieties very rich varieties we having in Mumbai. Then sea slugs, also sea slugs. It's a gastropods. It's a nudibranchs. So we can observe the varieties of sea slugs in the Mumbai coast also. So these are the just example of sea slugs we found in the Mumbai coast. Then it's a very important habitat in the coastal area. It's a coral reef. And they have coral reef. Basically, it has a very great ecosystem functioning and services. Suppose one coral reef is there. Basically, the coral reefs act as a home and nurseries for 25% of all marine life. So where the coral reefs are there, so you can understand the area is very pristine and we have a very rich biodiversity in the area. So we get a lot of ecosystem services from the coral reef like food and fishing. Then we have the tourism recreation. Then we have a very great medicinal value. Then coastal protections. So a lot of ecosystem services we get from the coral reefs. Like coral reefs in India, we have various marine national park, like in Gulf of Kutch. Then we have a Gulf of Mannar, then Andaman, Lakshadweep. This kind of very rich coral areas we are having, and India blessed with that. And around 478 species can be found, coral species can be found in Indian coast, including the Lakshadweep and Andaman. Uh, but in terms of coral species, Andaman is the highest rich area, then Gulf of Mannar, then Lakshadweep, then Gulf of Kutch. Apart from this this highly diverse coral zone, we have very patches and few pockets of the corals. Like if you go to the west coast, you will get many areas where the coral you can found. Like we get at the Malvan Sanctuary. It is a district of Sindhudurg in Maharashtra coast. Malvan is a good marine sanctuary. And then we had declare Angria Bank. It is a deep sea marine reserve area. It is has been declared by the government of Maharashtra. So that is one of the deep sea coral reserve area, Angria Bank. Then apart from that, we have observed corals in Mumbai coast also, but not very highly diverse species. But some species already we have 7 or 8 species already we observed from the Mumbai coast, but they are not a very good reef builder like we have in the Gulf of Kutch, Mannar, Andaman, like that. But they are these coral species, whatever we found in the Mumbai, they are known to resist this very anthropogenic stress conditions. Then we have a wonderful subtitled biodiversity. These pictures you can observing here, these are all has been taken from the mostly the west coast of India, some of the Maharashtra coast, some of the Gujarat coast, like that. So these are the diversity we found in the subtitle, like 5 meter, 10 meter depth, and these diversities photos has been taken by diving. Then we have a coastal avifauna also. So the lot of species like birds has come during their migrations, and they get why they roam around this coast, because they are having very easily food over there. So you can see the richness of the birds over there. The dominant, the density of the birds over here is very huge. If you go to the any good area in the sense, not the very highly populated by the human area, or not any beach where the humans are more, obviously you cannot see them. But if you go some other areas, like if you go Devgad, Malvan, or other places like Ratnagiri, and then Murud, Janjira. So all these places are very highly. Even Mumbai also sometimes we get a lot of species diversity. In Mumbai Thane Creek, we have a declared sanctuary of flamingo. Already we are already declared by the Maharashtra government. So those kind of tabufonal diversity you can see along the coastal areas, along the estuary, and along the mangroves. So now the important factor, uh, the biodiversity is coming as a economic value to the human, that is a fisheries. So it is a livelihood for the people whoever the coastal states, and also we are intaking those for our food value, and also we are exporting and we are getting a lot of economic benefit for the country. So these 9 coastal states and another 4 union territories of India are getting a lot of marine fisheries productions. Currently, around 1900 species of fishes are recorded as a marine in the Indian coast, and basically this coast we can consider as a exclusive economic zone. Exclusive economic zone. What is this? This is basically from our coastal area to 200 nautical mile area is our Indian territory, which can be considered as a our country's boundary, that is called a exclusive economic zone. So our vessel can go within this zone and can fishing and do whatever the harvest marine fishes, and they can catch over there. But beyond 200 nautical mile they cannot go. They can go only the international permit they are having. So these are the economic zone. But the marine fish landing in India, it's about 3.56 million tons in 2019 record I'm showing over here. So 3.56 million tons catch marine fish landing has done in Indian coast, and we get a lot of economical earnings from the by doing the exporting the fishes to several countries in the world. And then we get the very local livelihood, and the fish productions, like you can see the state wise. I had this in this data to just to show, to understand how this fish landings different states shows, like inland and marine. So it shows that how the fisheries is important for our economic and the livelihood value to our what you can say, the society, you can say. Yes. So and that we have to understand from where these fish is coming. So we are getting the products, but we need to understand these products basically we are getting because of these tiny organisms in the oceans, like phytoplankton, like zooplankton, like benthos. So if you destroy the habitats, if you destroy the ecosystem, you'll be destroying the fishes also. That we need to understand. So nowadays a lot of issues are coming, like the overfishing, the bottom trawling. So basically those are the destructive fishing methods people are using to get short-term benefit. But in the same time, we need to understand how we are destroying, not the fishes we are destroying, we are destroying the ecosystem. So that is our main motto, to understand the biodiversity. So unless we understand, after few years later, we will not get any fish, will not get any economy, and obviously, and I can tell you that our I think 2.5 to 3% GDP has been covered by the fisheries sector, and it can be covered from this all the coastal states to the country's GDP. So now I will talk about, I'll show about some deep sea ecosystem and their life on the sea floor. The deep sea basically is a food limited and it's the largest ecosystem in the earth. The species diversity is estimated very high, but the density is low. But different adaptation strategies happen in these deep sea areas. So I have a few times back I told you the seamount. The seamount is kind of a mount located in the oceans. Like we are already looking the mount in our terrestrial, like Satara Panchagini is a mount. So those mount, if you consider or imagine that mount is under the sea, then how the diversity will be there. So this kind of diversity will be there. So now it's a terrestrial. You see the lot of the plant species, a lot of other varieties of terrestrial species. We have a Kas Pathar, the endemic flowers over there. In the similar way, the seamount also have a lot of endemic species. Every seamount has their own endemic species. So the seamount has a very high, rich biodiversity, and this is some example I can show over here. This is our own study. These seamounts we found in the Andaman Sea, and we studied, and we found a lot of biodiversity in the seamount. We have done some underwater survey through some underwater camera system, and we found a lot of biodiversity in that area. And these are some biodiversity, how we have contributed to the Indian Ocean earlier, how it was, and now how it was. So from the seamount that we have shown in this paper, it is already published. So, and we discovered few new species from the Andaman seamounts. So it is new to the science. So we gave the name of the Andaman Sea. It is Andamanensis. There is a sponge we found from the seamount. Then we found some brittle star, and we also gave them a new name. So these are some contribution. Then it's a mid-oceanic ridge. Just if you see the oceans over here, there are a lot of plates. So plates basically join each other, and the joint portion we have a lot of mountain chains. So, and those are called a mid-oceanic ridge. And the mid-oceanic ridge also having the different kind of habitat. Suppose this also one of our study. So these are the how it looks like the mid-oceanic ridge bottom, and these pictures has been taken around 3,500 to 4,000 meter depths, so around 4 kilometer depths if you consider. So the pictures and these communities surviving in those areas. And also we got the new genus and new species from those areas. So suppose if you go in the deep sea and you whatever you collect, definitely you will get some new genus or new species. So that's what you understand how much we have been explored. We have not explored much. That's what it has been predicted that only 5% has been explored in the oceans. So you see the hydrothermal vent. I told about some hydrothermal vent. Hydrothermal vent, you know, this is a very unique ecosystem. Where is the, if you see here, there is a joint portion, and sometimes water goes inside through these areas, and it get mixed with the magma which inside the earth, and then it come out after the reactions, and it has a lot of methane, carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, sulfur, iron, manganese, helium, a lot of minerals over there, and it came with a lot of heats. The heats in the oceans, inside the oceans, in generally, usually how much temperature is there in the bottom? It's about 4 degree temperatures. But when this hydrothermal vent come out, the temperature arise around 100 to 350 degrees Celsius. So we can imagine. But the surprising thing is that till the 350-degree temperature is there, you have the lot of rich biodiversity. You see, there is it's called a pogonophore, and there are a lot of Ripsia achiptila is there, and then a lot of arthropods, a lot of shrimps, a lot of mussels. They're all big structure you can found in these hydrothermal vent regions. And these are the map where the hydrothermal vents located in the global oceans. So this is a very interesting field, and basically people are observing these areas, and research is going on how the life came from. So already we have some evidence but still we researcher and scientists are finding the more about the adaptations and evolutions of life from these areas. So these you can see how the hydrothermal vent communities look like. So few pictures from the like Pacific and yeah, Atlantic oceans, and then these are some Indian Oceans pictures also over here. So different oceans. Already we have hydrothermal vents in various oceans. We have in Indian Ocean also. So India is having a program of hydrothermal vent exploration. Then we have a similar kind of things is a cold ship. Cold ship also the process where the methane gas buried inside the sediment layer, but sometimes it came out through the seepage. And then in this process also we see a lot of biodiversity in the methane ship regions. Then this biodiversity generally they you can lie down on the ocean floor. It's a we call abyssal plains. Abyssal plains sometimes some nodules we can find, and the lot of biodiversity, the different species you can find, and the giant isopod. You can see the isopod how the big is isopod. It's a Bathynomus giganticus. The isopod it basically just see the picture over here. There is a experiment done by the scientists. They put alligator in the bottom, and they have seen observed through the underwater camera the isopod was eating that alligator. So it is surprising. So how big they are and how about their carnivore lifestyle. So these are some interesting lives and interesting behavior you can find over this. So now, so then how do you study the marine biodiversity? Just to very quickly, I suppose you go in the intertidal region, you just to collect the biodiversity and you need to quantify. Just not only the observe. So our main objective is to what is the biodiversity? Biodiversity is a measurement. So per unit area, you need to quantify. So that's what every time when you see anywhere, it is not about the oceans, any terrestrial, any hill, any region. If you see the biodiversity per unit area, so then only we can measure the biodiversity. So measurement is very important to census the biodiversity. So these are some process to collect the benthic fauna, and then some water sampling, then the sediment sampling. This is called a grab. This is a Niskin sampler. We take the water and we from the water we filter it for for phytoplankton, for chemical data, and these are some CTD data, conductivity, temperature, depth, and we put into the water and we get the physical chemical data. And also the fishing we do in the fishing, and we have a zooplankton net to collect the zooplankton samples. Then we suppose this is a zooplankton collection net. We called it is a multi-plankton net. So this we can put inside the water, and it has a 5-channel, and we can take the depth-wise sampling. Suppose 100 meter you want, 500 meter want. So whatever the depth you want, you can take through commanding from the ship. And this we called is a CTD rosette, and we have a Niskin sampler over here, and we collect the phytoplankton as well as chemical parameter, everything, and CTD also attached. It can go up whatever depth you want to send them, like 5,000, 6,000 meter. We have a ship and we go deep sea, 500, 6,000, sorry, 5,000, 6,000 meter area. We operate this instrument. So this is our oceanic research vessel RV Sindhu Sadhana, and also another we have. This is the biggest one we have. This is our CSIR. That vessel is heading by the NIO, and we have another vessel Sindhu Sankalp. So basically, this vessel is around 86 meter long, and we go up to the deep sea. Recently, it came back after the 90 days of exploration from Bay of Bengal to deep sea, Indian Ocean through Arabian Sea. So it just came back 2-3 days back. So and then we have different operation like benthic operations. We have a benthic chamber, we have a box core. So we collect the samples and we analyze on board in the ship. So we have a laboratory on the ship, and we analyze all the samples over there. and we process the samples over there. And sometimes if it is not done, then we defreeze or we preserve it and we come back to the laboratory and we analyze. And these are the some pictures of how we do underwater survey. Suppose this is a ship and we send, these are the camera observation system. We send them into the bottom, and we see the bottom communities over there, like this is a bottom community observed. And then after we come back, we calculate them and we reanalyze them through the videography, through the photography, and we try to measure their diversity and measure their richness over there. So now, so all these biodiversity and the major concern, we should be think about the threats to the marine biodiversity. So what are the threats to the biodiversity? Dr. Sachin was talking about when it was introduced in today's webinar. He was talking about the whale spill. Yes, whale spill is a very serious and concern threats to the marine biodiversity. So in the whale spill, it destroys everything in that region. So it is a very serious issue. And then noise pollution, it is being done by the several ships, company, everywhere the noise pollutions are there. Then habitat destruction by the unregulated fishing. Then ocean acidification, basically ocean acidification happen due to the climate change. And the climate change, basically we are the responsible mainly. And then due to the climate change, you can see over this photo how the iceberg is floating and the penguins are in danger and their life is in danger. Then another problem is the dredging in the oceans, in the some rivers, some estuaries. Basically, it's also another threats. And then the major threats also we can see nowadays is concerning about the plastics. So plastics pollutions are becoming a very serious and major concern in the oceans. So I told you a few times back that people have found the plastics in Mariana Trench. So Mariana Trench is more than 10,000 meter deep, 11,000 meter deep. So the plastics are reached about the deepest point of the oceans. So it is a very serious concern, and we think about our habits, we think about our concern, we think about our thoughts. What exactly we are using in the land, basically everything is goes to the oceans. So if you come, mostly the people in this webinar have seen the post, and people are coming to the if you come to the Mumbai, you can see after one tide you will find lot of plastic bottles, lot of plastic bags, the ocean just thrown out, from their body, means like from the water. Basically, they don't want, they're putting us back because it's a harming them. It's a very alarming conditions. So the plastics basically destroying us. We need to think in very seriously. And this is very shortly I can introduce my institute. Basically, we have a headquarter, CSR NIO headquarter is in Goa, and we have uh, three regional center. One is RC Mumbai, I'm sitting here, then RC Cochin and Visakhapatnam, and we do the all ocean research, and it's a premier ocean institute in this in our country, you can say. And we are doing coastal to deep sea, all where everywhere we are doing the research. And we have a website, www.nio.org. If anybody interested can visit, and the lot of research activities are going on. And basically we have the courses for PhD, and after that lot of projects we are handling, and there are also a lot of opportunities for students also can be found over there. So that's all. And this is the message from my Sislugs of Mumbai. Thank you for listening about us. Please visit us again. And this is our place. We will keep our ocean clean and healthy. We all should take this pledge today. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, yes, correct.
Yes. First, I will thankful to Dr. Sabachi giving very wonderful and nice lecture. He delivered in his lecture
Thank you,
the
sir.
pelagic zone and benthic zone. In the pelagic zone, phytoplanktons, then zooplanktons, as well as benthic animals. Also, he described very nicely how the ocean is polluted and how why it is protected or protected. It gives more information that more than 70% oxygen is given from the oceans. Then now 5% species are exploited in such a type of lot of information he gives in his lecture. The lecture is very, very nice. I am thankful to Dr. Sabachi and the organizer, Dr. Dangat. Okay, thank you. And
Thank you,
also
sir.
all the
Thank you very much.
participants. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, all. It's my great privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. On behalf of Department of Botany of Srimati Meenalben Mehta College, Pasgani, I extend a hearty vote of thanks to all the delegates and Sanstha authorities for their blessings and support for organizing this webinar. I extend my special thanks to today's speaker, Dr. Sabyasachi Sir, for his guidance on topic ocean. Purpose of celebration of this day is to inform the public of the impact of human actions on oceans and develop a worldwide movement for the protection of oceans. I congratulate Dr. Sabyasachi sir for achieving this same. The way he explained this topic is exemplary. I again thank to him. I also wish to express my gratitude to our Honorable Principal Dr. Shinde sir for his encouragement and throughout support. I am very grateful to Dr. Dangat sir, Head Department of Botany, Srimati Meenalben Mehta College, Pasgani, for organizing this webinar. I am thankful to all the participants and delegates for their enthusiastic participation. as no program can become successful with a single person. So, I extend my big thanks to one and all for making this webinar successful. Thank you, one and all. With the permission of organizers, I declare end of this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Scientist Sebechi, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Your
Thank you,
lecture is
organizer.
very nice and with having deep knowledge, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And also, I would like to mention here we have